He must increase and I must decrease. We see that all over the place. It's on shirts, it's on mugs, it's on pictures. But what does it really mean? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey everybody, welcome to Thinking Out Loud with PJ. On this channel, it's my goal to help you think different and help you think biblically. And if that's something that you would like to be a part of, I try to post videos every week. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the bell so you don't miss anything. And of course, if this video was an encouragement to you, hit the like button. That really helps me out. It pushes this video out to other people. YouTube realizes that you like it and it thinks other people might like it too. So please hit the like button and, of course, share it with others. I hope you have your Bible with you now, John chapter 3. If not, we're going to put the verses on the screen as well. John 3, and we're going to start in verse 22, and we're going to actually study today all the way through verse 30, which is where we find our phrase that we're going to talk about today. John chapter 3 and verse 22, John writes, "After this, Jesus and his disciples went into the Judean countryside, and he remained there with them and was baptizing." Now, what we find out in John chapter 4 is this interesting thing that Jesus wasn't actually baptizing, even though John says that he was, but it was his disciples. Jesus didn't baptize anyone at this time. But of course, John is meaning Jesus and his group as he writes. John also, speaking of John the Baptist, John also was baptizing at Aenon near Salem because the water was plentiful there, and people were coming and being baptized, for John had not yet been put in prison. Now a discussion arose between some of John's disciples and a Jew over purification. And they came to John and said to him, "Rabbi, he who was with you across the Jordan, to whom you bore witness, look, he is baptizing, and all are going to him." It's interesting how John writes here. He said a Jew came and kind of stirred up this controversy about purification, but he never actually tells us what that controversy is. We don't know what it is. It doesn't matter what it is, because remember, John said, the things I've written to you, the things that I've included them for a reason. I've included them so that you will believe. So we know that really that didn't matter. There's a heart issue here that we see, and that's what John wants us to understand. John the Baptist's disciples are actually becoming jealous of Jesus here. They're seeing that this following of Jesus is growing, and Jesus' disciples are baptizing more and more people. And they say to John the Baptist, they say, "You were the guy who gave witness to him." Really, I think what they're thinking here is, you were the guy that gave this Jesus his start. You were the one that told everybody about him. And now look, he's outgrowing you. He's baptizing more people than you. He's bigger than you, and you were the one that, as far as they were concerned, had got him started. Really, what the problem is John the Baptist's disciples were discontent with their lot in life. They were discontent with being a part of this group that was not bigger than Jesus' group, that was not growing. They were frustrated with that. And I just wonder, as we read this, have you ever looked at someone else? And I say this kind of laughingly because, of course, we have. But have we ever looked at someone else and been jealous of their success? We look at them and we see what we might consider their lot in life and say, man, why is it that they have all this success? Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's somebody that hired in and you trained them and you taught them everything they know. And now they are advancing in the company. They're passing you up, and it's a struggle for you. That's what's going on with John the Baptist's disciples. They're seeing this happening, and they're really struggling. And so when they come to John the Baptist, he has a great answer for them, and we see that in verses 27 and 28. It says, "John answered, a person cannot receive even one thing unless it is given him from heaven. You yourselves bear witness and said, am I I am not the Christ, but I have been sent before him. So John, he says, a person cannot receive even one thing unless it's given to him. And then he says, you yourselves bear witness that I said, I'm not Jesus. It's no big deal. I'm not that guy, he's saying. John has such a humble heart here, such a humble attitude as he responds. And he says something that's really key here. He said, God has already decided, for lack of a better term, our lot in life, right? Our lot in life, when we say that, it really sounds like, well, this is somebody cast a lot, right? By chance, this is how my life ended up. And John knows differently. He says, no, God determined that I would be the one that would come before Jesus. I would be the one that would announce the coming of Jesus, that would prepare the way. And just the same, God knew, God was the one that gave Jesus the ability and the opportunity to do what he was doing as well. Jesus was given his role by God. John was given his role by God. And now here's where this starts to get important for our own application. You were given your role in life and in service for God, by God. And I was given my role by God. Okay, so ultimately, we have to come to grips with that in our lives. Ultimately, we have to learn to be content with that. And that's what John is going to teach them. He's going to teach them that their lot in life, as they saw it that way, that the way that things fell in life, they were discontent with that. And John says, no, we cannot be discontent with that. In fact, John is going to go on and say, I find joy in that. I'm joyful for them. I'm content. So if we go on to verse 29, he says, the one who has the bride is the bridegroom. The friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly at the bridegroom's voice. Therefore, this joy of mine is now complete. What a tremendous picture John gives us about this bridegroom. He's kind of saying here, I'm the best man. Guys, don't forget, I've taught you this, right? You heard me say, I am not Christ. I'm the best man. I was the guy working behind the scenes. I was the guy helping get all of this ready, preparing people's hearts, right? The voice crying in the wilderness, preparing people's hearts, prepare ye the way of the Lord so he could come. I was the best man. I was never the groom. I was never that guy. That is not what God saw fit. I was the best man. I'm close. We're friends. I love this person. But ultimately, the person with the bride is the one who shines on the wedding day. Of course, we know that a wedding is for the bride, right? But the groom is much more important on that day than the best man. Ultimately, when the wedding happens, the groom or the best man stands by, enjoys what's going on, smiles and is joyful for the groom. But it is not his day, and John is trying to get them to understand. He says, look, I've been working behind the scenes for one reason, and that's to make the groom look good. I want to make him look good. I wanted to help him accomplish what he came to accomplish, and now he says, because of that, because Jesus is now, we're seeing his ministry get traction. We're seeing him work. We're seeing people being baptized. My joy is complete. What John is saying here is mission accomplished. My mission has been accomplished. I knew what God sent me here to do, and I see it. I see it happening. John is not jealous, not even a little bit. John is joyful. He says, my joy is complete. So before we start thinking that we might want to be jealous or have that heart towards people, we need to think about what God has planned for us, for our lives. So there's really two lessons here that I want us to learn before we get to John 3, verse 30, which is really what we've kind of set out to answer, but this helps us do that. There's two lessons. Number one, when our life doesn't look like we want it to, right? We have this idea and this picture of what our life should be, what our ministry should be, whatever that is. When it doesn't look like we want it to, and we see somebody else is turning out what we would consider to be better than that, how are we going to handle that? Right here on YouTube, that's a perfect example for me. And when I started this ministry over a year ago now, I had these ideas of what this ministry might look like. I made contacts with people. I have people, men that I would call friends, and I've never met them. That's the fun part about YouTube. But we communicated, and I would consider them friends, and many of them have surpassed my channel. Many of them have grown past me, and I struggled with that for a little while. I had to come to grips with, no, that's good for them, and I can be joyful for them, and I truly am joyful for them when I see God growing their channel, realizing God has a plan for this channel. God has a plan for me. I am not them, so I can be joyful for them. I can be excited for them, but I can also be excited and content and enjoy the things God has given me right here on this channel. And by God's grace, that's where I am now. I enjoy doing this, and I enjoy reaching and ministering to you. And I also enjoy when my fellow pastors who are on YouTube surpass me, and they do, in a sense, what we would consider their success is greater than mine. When really what we understand is we each have a role, and that role is different, and really that's all that means. So how are we going to handle it when life doesn't turn out the way we want, but we see other people turning, they're getting kind of what we want? We need to realize that was not God's design for our life. That was not God's design for ministry. That was not God's design for our family. Whatever it is, we realize that was not what God had designed for us. And rather than being frustrated, rather than being upset by that, we embrace and we enjoy the place where we are, just as John did. John knew his role. John knew his place. So we can either embrace where God has us, or we can become bitter and we can become upset. And then we miss out on all of the joy and all of the opportunities God has given us. We have learned in John, especially as we looked at John 3:16, of God's immense love for us. And when we begin to understand God's love for us, how could we ever think that God would not give you what is best for you, and God would not give me what is best for me? So when I look at my life and I might say, okay, this ministry or this thing or whatever it is, this is not turning out the way I thought it would, I can either get bitter or realize, no, God loves me. He has a plan. This is the place that God has put me in my life. So that's the first lesson. Second lesson is our job, as John the Baptist. His job was to make Jesus look good. Ultimately, no matter where our lot in life is, no matter where God has placed us as we serve him, no matter where we serve in the body or how we might get frustrated, it doesn't matter. What we need to know is that we're just a groomsman. We're just a part of the wedding party. We are not the groom. Our job is to make the groom look good, as John did. So that's what leads him now to this passage, this verse that has become so popular. John says, no. Literally, this is physically now, as they are watching Jesus' ministry grow, numerically even over John's. He says, speaking of Jesus, he must increase, I must decrease. And literally, physically, that was what was happening in that moment. As he had fulfilled his role, his ministry was decreasing. Jesus' ministry was increasing. And of course, from that, there are so many things that we can apply to our lives, but we have to live every single day saying, look, I'm just the groomsman, right? I'm just part of the wedding party. The person that needs to look good, the one that needs to look good is the one who has the bride, the groom, the Jesus. My life is all about one thing. My life is all about making Jesus look good. And when we can embrace that in our lives and say, God, I don't care what you put on me. I don't care if somebody seems to do better than I do. I don't care if somebody achieves what I wanted to achieve or whatever it might be. I don't care if somebody's ministry seems to be bigger than my ministry or somebody has a better job than me. I understand that you have seen fit in your great love to put me where I am in my life for a reason. And through that, I'm going to be joyful. Through that, I'm going to be content, and I'm going to point people to Jesus. I'm going to make Jesus look good no matter what. And now John is saying the key to life here. He says, when Jesus increases and I decrease, that's where the real joy comes. It's not just about making Jesus bigger. It is, but as we make Jesus bigger, it brings better perspective into our lives. It makes us more content when we realize it's not about me, it's all about him. And then that's where we begin to experience real joy, because Jesus is the one that matters. Think about this. If we let Jesus increase and we let us decrease, that's only going to be better for us, because in anything, Jesus is better than we are. So let's give him our lives. Let's allow him to increase. Let's not be bitter because we think somebody else is doing something, getting something that we should get, but rather say, God, you saw fit to give me this role, and I'm thankful for it. I'm going to serve you the best I can, and I'm going to point people to Jesus. So I want to say thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys hitting that play button. Again, if you were encouraged by this, please hit the like button. If you've been enjoying this Bible study, make sure you let me know what God is teaching you through it. If you appreciated this video, if God taught you or encouraged you through his word, through this video, please leave a comment. Let me know what it is you learned. Let me know how I was able to encourage you through God's word, because ultimately that's what I want to be able to do, is make Jesus bigger through this channel. We want to point people to Jesus, not me. So please let me know how the Lord is encouraging you through my channel. I would love to hear from you. We will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.